With shifting realities and energy roller coasters, being spiritual in a physical body can sometimes be a struggle. Thank you for being part of the Zoli Art Montana podcast. My name is Linda, here with Zoli Althea Brown. So, Zoli, what would you suggest to people getting by when so much is beyond our control?
Oh my gosh, I've been giving so much thought to that lately. So much thought that I've decided that it's impossible to live. Be in the now, be in the moment. I went into the reality pirate consciousness. I said, that's impossible. Because every time I'm in the moment, it's already the past. And if I'm thinking about being in the moment, it's already the future. But isn't that it? The past, the present, the future is that dichotomy that just builds up that emotion. Where should we be? How should we do it? I find once I was practicing that a little bit, that the idea of being present is what's being talked about. If I can attend personally to what I'm doing without my mind going, oh, girl, this way and that way, I tend to do better. I think to focus on what we love and who we love. If the statement, what brings you joy? Well, that's kind of like your t shirt, easily distracted. It says by trees at the bottom. But I'm easily distracted. I'm creative. But I think by staying present and by focusing on what do I love and what do I want to create right now? How can I do that? If you have four kids screaming, that's kind of hard. It'll come around. Be patient. It'll all come around.
So, how do you use creativity kind of as an antidote to the chaos?
Great question. It's an outlet for me. And I've joked before that my art, my music, and my writing were three kids that I had that stayed at home in my basement for years. And I finally had to get them degrees and kick them out. So now they each have their own place on the website. They each have their own PhD and they have a reason for being. That to me is the great panacea. If I'm in a pissy mood or if I'm upset, if I'm bitter, if I'm doing negative Zoli, what brings me right out of it is to think of Zoli art, that I'm actually doing and moving something forward. That brings the idea of being in the moment. What creates the stress and what lets it go? Creating the stress, we're like pressured. We're cornered into ourself and our belief system. The creativity adds color to that. It adds sound. It adds love. It adds light. So by being creative, you don't have to do art, music, writing. Creativity is. I was at the dump yesterday. I love going to the dump. I'll go to the dump for 30 hours, 30 years. Load the back of my truck and go. I know everybody there. I saw a killdeer bird. I hadn't seen a killdeer since I lived in Washington. I thought, what is a killdeer doing at the dump? Well, there's a pond there also, but it lifted my spirit. So I was creatively engaging in nature in a place that you wouldn't think was beautiful, but there was great beauty there. See, it's the surprising things. It's the things that surprise us that bring the most joy. It takes us out of our the two things that bother us on this earth. I joke about it, gravity and emotions. It takes us out of that because we're connected to divinity. What brings you divine power? What brings this divine power into you? How can you feel that and be creative with it? And what does that mean? What does it mean? Whatever your higher power is, for God's sakes, people, find something, not another person or a thing, but find something. When you have that power, that is creative, and you are bringing that in and you are making it real on this physical world. You're bringing in your spirituality. And how do you do that? You do it by just doing it. Just there's great, great emotion in just feeling things and looking at what can come out of that. Look at how kids, my God, these kids. When I was such a weird kid. I won't even use me for an example. Everybody hated me. They should have. I was awful. I was an awful child. But most kids are out there. They're joyous. They're happy. They're doing their thing. And we think, when did I lose that? Well, I don't know. Each of us is a little different. But kids are supposed to do that. That's how they mirror that and bring it to us. We still have that inside of us. And to me, that's the creativity. That's the reality power. That's who he is. Nobody tells him what to do. They can try, but he has his own way of doing that. He's like a big kid. And so the music, that is a verbal bringing forth of spiritualizing matter. The art is comforting to me. adding color, spiritualizing. So, what do you love? It doesn't have to be complicated. Try that for a little bit. Get back to me on that.
The art I want to share is your new art. So it's not in the gallery yet, but it will be very shortly because there's so much emotion and feeling in some of this artwork. So if you see a piece that you'd like to talk about, please stop me as I scroll through some of
You know,
them.
that first one, I'll go through each of them real quickly, but that first one, the circle, that was at a full moon. But because of the full moon, I also was feeling the radiation from the sun. And it felt like a crop circle. So all that was engaged in that. And just the vibrancy and the color was important to me to use.
I like the crop circle. That's neat. And you can feel the energy of that. I think a lot of people have been feeling similar energies, and you're showing us how we can express them.
That has to do, this is an old symbol for me. I'm a Reiki master. And sometimes when I was doing Reiki, if I do it on someone their body was dying, my hands would get very cold. They wouldn't stay warm. And I'm not quite sure why that is, but there's a lot of reasons that it could be. And I also use those globes, those little look like little bacteria. That's kind of a dark piece, but that's part of life because when life is going away, that's what goes away also.
Do you find it helpful to draw out some of the negative aspects?
I when I start drawing, I never know what it's going to be. I would be an awful artist to do commissions because I'm not going to do what you say because whatever comes out comes out. It's extremely childish and self-centered of me, but that's what I do. And so whatever comes out, it kind of has its own evolution. It'll become what it needs to become. And I draw out the form first, and then I start adding color. But I sometimes I might get an idea. Yeah, I'm going to use my hand and see what colors come, or I'll get an idea like I was looking at the crop circle picture on the full moon, thinking about the sun. That's an image that comes forth, but it's never exactly what I was thinking it was going to be.
It's almost as though some of your unconscious comes through.
Oh, very much. And I think that's being an artist.
Yeah.
I think so. The people that are gifted with drawing things that are actually real, oh my God, I don't see how they do it. You've seen some of my attempts at that. They look like they're warped. Look like they're in the transmutation chamber or some sort. But that's just not what I do. I'm in the other world. Let's see. I'm Rosum per crucium ad rosum. This is from my Rosicrucian work, and you can see at the top and the bottom the rosy cross. And it basically is honoring the rose and the cross. And the rose stands for the heart, the rosy cross. I won't go into too much of that. I became a member of the Rosicrucian order in 1976. And what we're allowed to say is that I'm above the ninth degree. And so you are always a student, you never really finish.
That's true in life as well.
This was a spring piece. I was like, oh my God, the leaves are coming out. I
Mm.
want to do something with leaves. Well, of course, it didn't become anything like what I thought it might be. And those little purple things, those were going to be bugs. And you see what they turned out to look more like pomegranates. But my stuff's not real. I mean, I don't live in the real world anyway. That was, yay, spring is here.
It has some interdimensional elements to it.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. It does. The triangles are, they're not pointed at anything particularly, but I think if you have to analyze it, it has to do just adding some form to the potential. Maybe the leaves will attach to it. I don't know. This is Om Tara Te Tara Turi Soha. This is the green Tara, and she is one of the healing Taras. Many, many years ago, many, God, like 30, 40 years ago in Olympia, Washington, there was this lovely woman, not young. She was Tibetan. She came out of Tibet with the Dalai Lama. She was a child. And I went to the local Wat, which is the Buddhist temple. she was giving initiation into the green Tara. And so I went there and did the initiation, and it was quite amazing listening to her. I still like to say that Om Tara Te Tara Turi Soha. It honors the Earth Mother and it honors the feminine ideas and principles.
That's gorgeous. That power and the power of it is
Mhm.
it's coming into being as we speak.
This is I often joke and say, well, I don't have any Jewish blood, but I was raised Reformed Jewish in an adopted home. It was wonderful. It's about food and family and love. And I'm a theosophist by spirituality, but I'm a Jesuit Catholic in practice, in much of my practice. And this is honoring the Jesuit Catholicism. And I use the four because I wanted the balance. I wanted it to look balanced. This was potential coming out, and the middle of it, I wanted it to look very electric, and the outside, those squirrely things to look like DNA. It was like creation. Where does it come from? Who thought that up? How does it even work? And I spent the day thinking about that, and I was writing on it, so that was the result of it.
It's interesting that it has similar shapes to the previous, but a totally different energy and vibrancy to it.
I think I was in a phase of doing the circles, and I think with spring coming, I was looking at some sort of balance.
And the crop circles you mentioned in a previous one, are crop circles messages?
There are a lot of different things. The crop circles are the ships, the ships of our space brothers. Most are made on Mars, and you don't see them because they're etheric. They're physical, etheric. And so a lot of the crop circles are created by the Venusians. And it's the purpose of creating a grid all over the planet where our new source of energy will come from in the future when we quit whacking each other and doing stupid stuff, which we do. We do a lot of great stuff too. I'm not saying that, it's just where we are. But the crop circles connect all over the world, and they're also under the water, the places you never see. The main reason why they are in England right now is Maitreya is in London. He is in one of the ashrams in London. Is where his energy is coming from right now to say that. And of course, London is one of the chakras of the planet. And he's there because the British have done such a good job with people getting along with each other. There are many people. There's the Asian community, the so-called white community. There are all the different communities, and they get along. Here in America, we're working on that. We're a lot younger. So we're teenagers. We're working on it, but we got a lot to learn too. This, what was I doing and what does that say? I'm not quite sure what that said. I think I did this for Hanukkah for my niece and nephews, is what that was. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and there should be eight candles, I think. But I did that for them to kind of honor their holiday. My brother is Jewish and his children are Jewish. That's Ave Maria. Once again, this was very musical. I love listening to these beautiful the chants of the Ave Maria chants, and that was one of them. And that was a very, very musical priest, a musical sound. And one of the priests was talking in the background, and I felt inspired by that. Those crosses you see in each corner, I have that tattoo on my left arm. That was a Crusader cross. I won't go too far into that. It's also the Jerusalem cross, and its energy is equilateral because the with the cross it stands for energy from the heavens coming down below to the earth, and the energy that is cross horizontal stands for humanity, and it meets in the middle. Hence the rosy cross, hence the heart, because everything is love. And Ave Maria, that is honoring the mother aspect, which is receptivity, it's intuition. And for the next 20 years, gal friends and guys, there's a lot of female energy. You're going to see a lot of women, for good or ill, doing things publicly, getting their power centers more aligned. And for the next 20 years, you're going to see a lot of that. It doesn't mean that men are left in the lurch. They're not. Men also have the ability to feel and to be intuitive. That women have the ability to move into this era honoring the alpha male and the masculinity of that at the same time. You don't have to destroy one to feel the other.
And the work you're doing with Zoliart reflects that quite well with all the collaborations and with artists and other people that really amplifies that feminine energy you're talking about.
I think creativity is a feminine energy, and we do ourselves a disservice. We always say feminine and masculine, and it's really the negative and the positive poles of things. The negativity is magnetic, it pulls things in, the masculine projects. And so those things put together, you have creation. That
This is
was just that was funny. I was looking at our cat, Sophia Montana, who is trying to hide behind a bush because there was the squirrel and my squirrel Charlie. I didn't want her getting him. But I thought, look at that little turkey. I've got to go out and get her. And she's like, no, 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 no. So I just left her. She didn't get him because he's very good at running around, but that's what that was.
yeah, you can see her hiding in the bushes in this
Yeah,
piece.
sneaky. Oh my God. And she's only 8 pounds, but she's a very powerful little being.
And this piece is one of your pieces that makes me think about shape shifting. How do you do that?
How does one shapeshift?
Well, yes. How does one shapeshift and how do you reflect shape shifting so well in your art?
Well, I think it's because you're seeing it, but in order to shapeshift, you have to be a shapeshifter. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. And my new age friends harp on me that I don't think I'm powerful, this and that. Well, I'm a person. I'm just a person. I'm not going to be shapeshifting. I can do it in my mind, but just because I believe it in my mind, that's an abstract ideal. And that's what creativity is. Go off in your mind and do things, but come back and pay your bills, brush your teeth, have a good night's sleep, be human too. But I think that you and I see, and we've discussed this a lot of different levels. And it appears that as the years progress, there are more and more levels that we are able to see and feel. Somebody told me once, and someone please correct me on this, that during the time of Egypt, that the people there could not see purple. You ever heard that?
I
I don't know if
believe
that's
so. I think
is
I've
that
heard,
true?
and if it's true, that's fascinating.
What if you accidentally put red and blue together? I mean, you had purple. Could you not see it? Did it look brown? I don't know. I don't know. There's so much that's just pure garbage that we think is wonderful.
That is the truth. This one has
Oh,
high.
this is see the little fangs below. That's another Sophia thing. And it was like she was imagining, I could see her dreaming, imagining herself being a leopard, a yellow leopard with spots and stuff. And so that's what that came out of.
She was channeling her ferocious self.
She was channeling that with big fangs. Yep, she was.
That's so fun.
This is another Sophia thing. I was really, really on a Sophia bent. I did this. I think this was 4 or 5 different days that I was doing this. It was early, early spring. I think I did these and right at beginning of March, middle of March. We still had some snow, not much. But I was thinking and dreaming of spring, and I thought I could almost turn this upside down. And so it was another one of the shape shifting type things. This was once again music. I was listening to some Bach, and I love Bach. I'm not very sophisticated musically, but I love chamber music basically because it's repetitive and simple. So I like it. And I thought the one in the back is what's coming out of the two on either side. And it's like when we're listening to something and our brain is busy listening, that creativity can be born in a different way than if we're just driving in our car thinking of something. And so, music is one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit that we have here. And it's an auditory world, it's a visual world, it's a tactile world. These are our physical senses. And we need the physical senses, but you can't reach the other worlds with them. But the imprints from the other world can come through and be expressed by them. And that is how we give back to God the gifts that He gives us.
It's compelling how you combine your different types of artwork in a way that brings insight on a deeper level.
Well, I'm glad you see that because I don't, I'm just drawn away. I just like color. It's like food for me. It's just like food.
Wasn't that the way it works, though? We see things in each other's work and in each other's skills that they don't see in themselves. And that's why collaboration is so important.
It is. And that's why we need each other. We are made, even though I am a hermit, I'm hermitage. That's how I do my work. When I'm with other people, I enjoy it. And I do look for input because it's the reciprocity. Now, by me getting my work out, I get recip- reciprocity back. And so we have to give. Once again, the giving out is the positive, the receiving is the magnetic pole. And I always get something from what people say. I think, I didn't think of that. That's the purpose of each other. We're made to learn from each other. And I can get a lot more about who I am from other people for good or ill. Just get a bunch of 8-year-old girls on the playground. Oh my God. We can be like that too.
Yes, they're brutal.
Oh yeah, well, you're just trying to form who you are. I I think this was just I like these colors. It was very peacock oriented. I think I had bought a shirt that had a peacock. Now that I look at this, when I'm thinking about it, I think that's where those colors came from. I never saw that before. Huh. Nullum bonum infinitum. One of my favorite things. No good deed goes unpunished. Back when I was a blooming helpaholic, when I was in my late teens and I was a pink lady at the hospital, the director asked me, "Why do you want to volunteer?" And I said, "Well, I want to help people." She said, "Why?" And I thought, "Because I'm supposed to." I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't even have frontal brain. But I heard that statement a couple more times as I was doing better and better work to help people help themselves. So if we have great expectations, there's not this much going to come from it. And if we overdo it, nullum bonum infinitum, no good deed goes unpunished. That's what it means. That if we have expectations, that's why Maitreya teaches be kind and detach from your work. Just detach from what you're doing. Easier said than done many times because we're passionate creatures. We don't always do it, but we have to try. So I love that statement.
That is a great statement, and helpaholic. I think there needs to be a recovery system for that. So many helpaholics don't even know they are what they are.
And I've been all over the spectrum with it until I realized that I really couldn't help anybody. I could only help myself, helping myself, that I could mirror to others what I had learned and hopefully learn from others. It really was a great freedom and it allowed me to detach from having to do it all the time. It was a profession for me. I was a professional helper in my life. This is another Jesuit one. Um, that Jesuit symbol is in the middle. That is up at top. Yeah, that's the same thing.
The rich colors are in
Mm.
that one are so beautiful.
Well, there it is. Who are you?
It speaks for itself.
You know, asking myself, who are you? Well, who I was yesterday, kind of. Am I who I'm going to be tomorrow? Kinda. We can get too philosophical and we forget to just be. I'm a research analyst. I'm not a counselor. I wasn't trained to do that. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a teacher. I'm a research analyst. So that right there is Zoli's brain. I keep trying to figure out what the holy hell am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing? And at my age, believe me, I figured a lot of it out, but there's a lot I can still learn.
It's a daily learning opportunity.
Always. I mean, always. And if we say, well, I'm always learning, no, you're not. Because we have to have time where we encode what we've learned. So everything is cyclic. Everything is like the ocean waves. The tide goes in, the tide comes out. We can be thinking about it, but we also need rest.
You can really feel the waves of change in this image.
Hmm. This was a very cerebral piece. I think I've been locked into some sort of, I think I did this. This was about 2 months ago. Um, And I remember when I was doing it, I was in a very intense phase, just intensity. That's all the upper chakras right there, is what that feels like to me. And there's a fire. I use that in a lot on the spikes, the fire coming out. Fire is the element that even though people think they can control it, talk to it, you can't. It's the most powerful of earth, wind, water, and fire. It's the most powerful of all. And it really doesn't communicate with the other ones. It's unto itself. It comes from off of this earth. It comes from the sun originally, of course, Ra, whatever you want to call that. And as I've spoken before in the Torah, the Pentateuch, the 5 books of the Bible, in the Torah, when you open it, there are no vowels because the vowels are the God language and they're fire. So fire is a theme that I use a lot.
Yeah, there's flames throughout a lot of your images.
Hmm. This was just a very lovey-dovey, here we are coming into summer. It was just happy. I was just feeling happy. And of course, happiness comes and goes. It's not real. Um, but I was just feeling some happiness. It was probably a nice day in Montana.
Beautiful. It makes me think of spring flowers.
It's kind of candyish, maybe I was craving eating stuff that I probably shouldn't eat. I don't know. Which is most stuff.
Yeah, what should we eat? That's a topic. What motivates your creativity?
Well, there's different kinds of creativity as we spoke of. To me, it's getting it out of my system. I have to get this out of my body. If you don't, you will become depressed in some way, just stuck. And we're getting the past out into the future by doing it in the present. There's that piece again. But I think to motivate ourselves, we have to decide what is joyful to me. What do I love? And I love color. That's ray 4, by the way, of all the 7 rays, ray 4 is color. And I love color. I always joke with our country, America, America, land of the free and home of the beige. Everything's beige. So I think of Diane Keaton's wardrobe. It looks lovely, but I need color. I'm one of those very colorful kind of people. So I would suggest if you are wanting to be creative and you think you're not, maybe back it up to when somebody accused you that you weren't. Somebody probably said something when you were a kid or whatever, that you didn't draw that right or do that right. We kind of get locked in. So what brings you joy? Just start doing something. Just start.
Express yourself in some way.
Yeah, easily said, actually. Um, I think children are much better at it. And when they're not happy, you know about it. And as you get older, you have these distractions called drug and alcohol and other weird addictions. So that kind of cuts everything off right there.
Right. Like we're always trying to stay in the comfort.
Well, we are because it's the physical world. The 5 physical senses want comfort and they want resolution right now. Just right now, they're very immature, but they're also given to you by God to create what He gave to you. The father mother aspect of God, the creativity, the love, the caring, everything that's love comes forth in art.
So, how can we get more comfortable expressing ourselves in ways that might be uncomfortable?
Oh, if you figure that out, let me know. I tend to stick, maybe it's my autism. I tend to stick with the same thing, do them over and over and over and over again. You can see that in my art. And I think we have to try and we have to accept help from other people. Other people have been very comforting to me. Other people who take the time to explain, to help, or I other people. That's a very loving thing to do. And I think it has to come sometimes from somewhere else. Maybe it's time. Maybe you saw a movie that triggered something. Maybe it's like, hey, I would think I want to try charcoal, or I might want to try doing this or that. To me, dance is amazing. Look at these people. Oh my God, you can move the body at age almost 72. I'm not going to be getting into that for a profession, but it's amazing because you're using your whole body. You have movement, you have tactile senses, you have music, you have all of everything is activated. So you never know. You can dance alone, turn on the music at night, nobody's there. Who knows? But there's all kind of things we just get stuck in saying that I can't do that or I'm not supposed to. And that's part of human nature too.
That's true. We do get stuck. And it brings me back to what you usually say about how we're here to spiritualize matter. And it feels like that's what expressing your creativity is doing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what spiritualizing matter does. Because we humans, we have that spark of God in us. We have a soul. And so when we create or touch matter, we're changing it. And everything you see was a thought before it was a thing. And where did that thought come from? It came from the big, vast, endless possibilities from the creator. Whatever you believe the creator to be. In recovery work, we call it higher power. And it is higher power, but you can't not have that and create and make yourself feel kind to yourself and others.
Art connects us to higher power. That is a hopeful statement.
It does. It does. And it's the gift that keeps on giving because love has no end, has no beginning or end. None of the higher power has any beginning or end to it. Everything here, the five physical senses are finite. And even the things that we create are finite, but they can give emotion and they can give joy and they can give hope. And you never know who you're going to affect. You never know if you're depressed or upset, or God forbid, you want to end your life. You never know that in 10 seconds, something's not going to change. And it usually does.
It does. There's a connection with something or someone that will come up that you'll least expect.
And you are surrounded with help. You're surrounded with dozens of ancestors, etheric beings, astral beings, um, David beings. You're never alone, ever, ever, ever. And so, how do you tune into that? You do it through the feminine sense of intuition and of magnetizing to you the hope. Just magnetize it and ask for help. If you don't know how to ask for help, just say 3 words: I need help. Somebody who, and I say that sometimes, whoever is around, for God's sakes, I need some help because I am drowning here. So just ask. You never know what can come.
How would you suggest people listen to their intuition or hear that help when it does
You
come?
got, yeah, you got to get quiet somehow, some way. And it doesn't take that long, but you got to get quiet and learn the signature of the frequency. That's very important. Learn the signature of the frequency of what it feels like to you to be receptive. What is that feeling that I get? The feeling nature of I am open to something that feels safe and that feels nurturing and is going to give me the possibility to relax. Before we did this podcast today, I told you I did a 50-minute 50 guided meditation. I lay down on the bed, the field was there, put my feet up, and I went out. I don't remember a lot of it, but I woke up feeling refreshed, and I've forgotten to do that lately. And so by trying and asking for help, Spirit told me this morning I could feel, I could see, I get things visually. That's also important. How do you get things? So I saw myself laying down doing a guided meditation. And what did I do? Oh, yeah, right. Like I got time for that. I did that, right? So they're prodding me and they're pushing me, but I know that signature. So, how do you get the signature? I get it through visual, through my music, my writing, my art. I see stories play out. That's how I do it. You might do it, it might be something in your heart. I knew a girl that her ears would itch. Anything's possible. Spirit will, they don't quit. They'll use anything and everything to reach you if you are asking for help. They're not going to throw up their hands, go, well, she's an idiot. I'm not going to do it. That's us.
That's
You know,
humans.
it is humans, and it's exciting and thrilling to think, ask whatever you believe in is higher power. I use the word God. I use a lot of different words. I don't want to step on anything here. But if you know that signature of the frequency, the feeling, the electricity of that coming to you, that electricity will come to you. You want to attract it like moths to a flame. So what can you use? Try it and ask other people, what do you use? You know, people want to write in and say, how do you connect with that? How do you connect with the divine? We'd love to hear from you because
Yes.
that's the precious thing.
Yeah, respond to that question at connect@zoliartmontana.com and let us know how you connect with higher power.
It's very precious to hear from other people because I always get something out of it. And we can find connection with other people in that way too. And that's what makes us feel less lonely. That we're less of an idiot for not getting it immediately. We just don't. Some things we do, but we have to try. We have to put forth the effort. We put forth 51%, you will get help. May not be exactly what you want, but you'll get it. And be glad it's not exactly what you want. Because sometimes the stuff I ask for is just dumb. I see if I had gotten that, oh my God, what a mess I would have made. I make enough of a mess as it is. You know, I'll take help. I think
Absolutely.
if any skills at all. My skill is that I listen well, and I've been trained to do that, and it's the one thing that saves me in the midst of a stupid attack.
That's important to remember. You're not alone, and there's help right waiting for you to ask.
Always, it's always, always asking, and you not only do you deserve it, but it's your birthright. It's why you are here. You're not here just to be alone because you never are. That's a lie. You're supposed to feel it, to seek the Creator. We have to magnetically pull that electricity to us. We have to seek it. And by seeking it, it can be seeing a killdeer at the dump. It can be watching Sophia Montana. It can be anything. And it's simple little moments that connect us and take us out of ourselves. What is your service? How do you serve others? You know, what are you here to do? What are you going to leave on this plane that's a little different?
The way you described your artwork and how you're not sure how it's going to come out when you start feels to me a lot like that seeking.
I think for me it is. I think it is. My husband says he loves to see me sitting doing artwork. Partially is because I'm not talking to him. You know, I'm not blah, 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 blah. Women, we just never shut up. I'm like a chipmunk. You know, he's very calm. He's very reticent and he's very calm. He's very tolerant. But when I'm at peace and I'm drawing, I've got the TV on, I'm watching Ice Road Truckers. I don't know what I'm watching. I'm just watching something that I like, very practical things. I like big machinery. I don't know where that came from. They're doing something. But he can see me sitting there pulling in energy, and he can see that. And I think when you get to know somebody, look at your family, look at your friends. When are they accessing the divine? What is the signature of that frequency? What is it? And then remember that. You remember that because when you see them doing that, they're in connection with the Godhead, with the divine. And we all are anyway, but they are in the feeling of it. They're in the feeling. It's like if you love baseball, you can go to baseball games. It's a lot different than watching it on TV. You are in the signature frequency when you're sitting in the stadium. And so, what we want to do is to be sitting in the stadium with God. We want that experience to where we feel protected and nurtured and loved. And we can give that to ourselves by recognizing ourselves and other people. How do you do that? What does that feel like? What's the feeling? Try that. Boys can do it, girls can do it. It's what's the feeling of it? And it's real.
What a wonderful concept. I think we can see it in others. Probably we'll be able to see it in ourselves even more.
I think so too. And I think we recognize in others the things that are rather threatening to us also. And we know we live with ourselves all the time. I'll go look in the mirror in the morning. Well, there you are again. You were there last night too. Tom might walk in and go, I like your hair like that. I'm like, oh, that's nice. It was very nice. And so you give each other little frequency signatures to where you feel good. You open your heart. And it's about opening our heart and mind, but you want to do it in a place in a way that you feel safe to do that. You can't do it in a war. You can't do it in great stress or great structure where we cannot access the divine easily. The world is changing. Have hope. There is more good than icky right now, even though the icky is really loud and screaming and yelling. The hope is there and things are getting better. We have a brilliant future ahead in this world. It's coming. So just stick with it. Find out what your signature is to access your divinity and just find out something that makes you happy because that's really who you are. And you never know who you can affect. You can change somebody's entire life and never know it just by being who you are.
That's the truth. And it's why you always often end things with "go in peace."
It's very true. That's a very biblical thing, but I think to go in peace, I'm offering the option of peacefulness. I may not feel it at the moment, but I know that is the only way forward. This big globe we all live on. You're not going anywhere. You can escape to the common line for 10 minutes, dance around with no gravity, but you're going to be back. So we're here and we're getting it. We're going to get it. We're going to figure this out. Have hope in that. Never lose hope.
That is a beautiful place to message to leave it on. Have hope and be at peace.
Yes. Be at peace. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Zoli, and thank you, everyone. Take care of yourselves and each other.